Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we're going to have a look at the new Linux Mint Debian Edition in the beta version. So Linux Mint Debian Edition, or LMDE, as it is often said in the Linux world, is a version of Linux Mint based on Debian instead of Ubuntu. Their ultimate goal is if Ubuntu eventually disappears, then this will allow them to continue their project without having to scramble to get something else. Although some people in the Linux community think maybe they should focus more on the LMDE issue and less on the Ubuntu version, as Ubuntu starts moving further and further away from the philosophy that guides Linux Mint. The first major thing, of course, is Linux Mint actively disables Snap from being able to be installed unless you intentionally do some things from your system to install it. They didn't do this to block your choice. They did this because Ubuntu is starting to push apt packages that when you go to an apt install a software package, that apt software will just install Snap and then install a Snap version. And Linux Mint's philosophy says if you wanted a Snap version, we'd have given you a Snap version. And so just wanting to make sure that people did not accidentally get Snap installed on their system, they went ahead and blocked Snap from being able to be installed. Now, that, if you're new to Linux, is like, well, what's all this mean? I have entire videos about this, and I'll go ahead and link one of these down in the description so you can have a little bit of the background. We don't want to really talk about that as much here, just to say that the Snap platform is controversial in the Linux world. Some people really like it, some people really don't. And Ubuntu was doing things that took away your choice to use it or not use it. Linux Mint did that. Now, they're doing more and more things which are calling more people to call on them to really focus more on the LMDE version, which can make sense in some cases, but I also understand why they don't do that in many cases as well. But anyway, let's go ahead and get on into the website and the release notes. So first, the first thing is if you've already downloaded a beta, make sure that your download is the beta 2 version. If you have the old beta 1, delete it and download the beta 2 for archival reasons, or if you want to install it. The reason is that there was an issue with the installer on the original beta that caused the wrong partition to be formatted. That could cause some serious issues if you are a more advanced Linux user and you're just testing this out alongside another machine. That could cause some problems. So make sure your download has beta 2 in the title, which fixes that. That did not impact anything on the installation of the software itself. It just messed up where the thing went installed. Of course, the installer for this, you can choose where it goes. The problem is it wasn't respecting your choice. And that really is what the issue is, primarily if you had multiple systems in place. So they don't have a whole lot more here, just a little bit of information. There will be an upgrade path from the beta to the official version. So if you're testing this out and you want to roll to it eventually, there will be an upgrade path from the beta to the official release. Over on the release notes, we have information about the installer guide. The root account is locked. You'd have to set a root password and be able to unlock it. And for anybody using guest editions, you can go ahead and install the VirtualBox guest editions. That is something I did not do here. It does find my resolution, and there's really no other features I really absolutely want it to use, so I didn't bother. There's DVD playback in VLC. That's fairly standard. And then there are a few other issues there as well on the Debian release notes. So if you want to look through the release notes for Debian 12 Bookworm, which this is based on, then you can go ahead and have a look at that. So let's go ahead and have a look at the system itself and see how this guy looks. The installation is not any different than we've seen in the past. And so if you've seen one Debian, Linux Mint Debian Edition install, you've seen them all. So I'll refer you to previous videos where we looked at this, or we installed it, or whatever else. So when we first land on our desktop, we are going to get our Linux Mint welcome screen. Now, for the most part, if you're really not being a big sleuth or something, then you may not be able to tell what the difference is between the Linux Mint Ubuntu version and the Linux Mint Debian edition without actually coming into here. Now, there's a few telltale signs, but for the most part, especially as it first releases, it becomes really hard to tell. It becomes a little bit easier to tell as the Ubuntu updates, the latest versions, and then LMDE is held back based on the Debian, although you might get newer Cinnamon versions coming out. But you can see here we have LMDE 6, we have Cinnamon version is 5.8.4, we're running the Linux kernel 6.1, and you can see the rest of the information there is what I have on the system itself. Now, on our welcome screen, the first major thing of the new Linux Mint, the new Cinnamon really is what I should say, is that get rid of our update manager for now, is that the color settings are now embedded into the Cinnamon desktop itself. So you have the ability here to grab a few various styles, and then from here you can go with mixed, light, or dark modes, and then you can kind of choose which one you like, and then there's various accent colors that you can choose from here as well. Now, if you like the older method of doing your theme settings instead, going to the advanced settings is going to take you right on back to the old way of doing things. So you can see we have everything in there. And here's adding and removing various themes. So you can see it's downloading images for the themes available. So if you want to download a theme and still use that old theme setting, you can go ahead and do that. But the new system here does make it nice and simple for most people to really like their system. It's just coming in more in line with other modern standards. Now, of course, the thing I don't like is they did get rid of the old traditional versus modern look. I hate this new modern way of doing things. So what we need to do is we just need to come on down here, hit your applet preferences for your, this is for your grouped window list. Configure this guy here, and then over here you can set the various items. And what I like to do is do your application name, and I don't want to show count numbers. And let's see, what else do I like to do? I don't like to group them by application type. And then let's see, left click action. We can toggle left, middle click, closing that. And there's a few other settings over here that you can do here as well. So this basically brings us back to that. And then, of course, the last thing that we would need to do is these are like the pinned to the panel, which I'm not a huge fan of those. So I like to unpin these guys, and then we can add launcher buttons instead. So let's do Internet, Firefox. Let's see if that adds. No, that's going to add them back as pinned, I think. Let me close that out, see if that adds it back. Yeah, that repins it. You need to go in and just add a launcher into your panel applets here. And then we just need to find our launchers, panel launchers. There we are. So click our add button over here. And then let's go ahead and just edit our panel and move these guys over here. And now I need to figure out which ones are the pinned and which ones are not the pinned. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And there's our applet preferences. There we are. Unpin, unpin, unpin. And there we have our old functionality restored. So that's how easy it is. It's not like, it's not the end of the world, not a huge deal breaker. And then now I can't remember if we, let's see, if you add the panel, I'm not sure if that's going to pin those. Yeah, that's going to pin them adding to the panel. So you're going to have to go ahead and set your launchers a different way. If I remember correctly on Cinnamon, I think you can drag and drop. Let me try that. Yeah, you can drag and drop, so you don't have to worry about doing other finagly things. So that's how I restore the functionality of my old way of doing things. So I like that button better, but hey, this looks better. It just now functions the way that it used to. That's great. We can set your system snapshots over here. Here is our multimedia codecs. This is one of the things that Debian does not ship with all the multimedia codecs, whereas Ubuntu generally does. So over here, if you are wanting to do multimedia type stuff and you're in a country that is legal to do so, you can just go ahead and click on that and click the install button, and that's going to go ahead and install the multimedia codecs. We were asked about our update manager before, so this is going to give you a pop-up when you first start the system, and over here is going to see if there's any updates to the system. There might be. So I'm not going to push the full updates right now. Basically, they have a new update version of the Linux Mint Update Manager. This is I'm sorry, it's still updating. I can't do it while the software there is installing. So let's just go ahead and do that. We'll wait for that. And then we have our system settings and our software manager. Our software manager is new in this version of Cinnamon. So it's similar, but they've actually done a few things that make it a little bit easier to manage. One of the things is the new update manager. It looks like we can probably apply our update now. The new manager is going to allow you to update your Flatpaks in addition to your repository software. So that's going to be a new feature of this version of Cinnamon. That is nothing new if you follow everything. The latest version of the Ubuntu version of Linux Mint has that as well, but this is the first time that we are seeing this particular update manager over here. So you'll see the type over here. So this is a third party from Debian backports. This is a software update. This is a security update. And then if there were a Flatpak that needed update, you'd see the Flatpak icon here as well. So that is really how our system here works with this. All right, Software Manager, the very first time you load them, they always take a little bit of time to generate the cache, so we'll go ahead and wait for that. Let's have a look at our software. Nothing really has changed on our software. We just have this full suite of software that pretty much comes with Linux Mint in general. So nothing out of the ordinary. I've not installed anything. We have our web apps here. We have our full Office suite. We have this H application that is perfectly free open source software, but I tend to get strikes talking about it, so we're not going to mention the dreaded H word. We have Rhythmbox, Celluloid. Here's various administration. Here's your various preferences. Those are all available inside your system settings. All right, so here is our new Software Center. Basically what they've done is they've made it easier to sort out what is Flatpaks and what is not. So if you pull something up, you can very clearly see that where a thing is from. So here's the Inkscape version, and then here we have a Flatpak version, or we have a system package version. These are, again, not brand new, as these are, this was an update that was made in the latest Linux Mint Ubuntu version, but this is the first time we are seeing it in LMDE. So I really like this new software manager. It does actually look really nice. It feels pretty nice. And I like the fact that we can easily see what is a Flatpak and what is not a Flatpak based on that. And we can easily choose which styles we are going to pick from. Of course, we have our system information over here. Yeah, Liz language packs are missing. That's the one negative part about Linux Mint, is it tries to install way too many language packs at times. There you have it. All right, let's have a look at our preferences. This is where you're going to find one thing that is going to be different is in the administration and under your Ubuntu, there is an extra software package, and that is a driver manager. That is one of the things that classically has left the LMDE version behind the Ubuntu version. However, in the new version of Debian, this is actually something that is solved. And so with Debian, they've given you the option to install non-free software drivers, but still have only free general packages. And so they accomplished this by splitting out the free repository into a free software and a free firmware. With that free firmware, availability, it makes the need for this driver manager now moot. And while I believe that Ubuntu, the Ubuntu version Linux Mint was going to be working on a driver manager of their own to move further away from the Ubuntu dependencies, that may not be necessary with the new version of Debian. We should be able to see that in the software sources. If not, we'll take you to the terminal to show you. But here's additional repositories. Let's see. So here we're just getting the, okay, it looks like we might need to go into the terminal. Have a look. All right, so let me go ahead and zoom this guy in a little bit so you can see what's going on. All right, and then, so we need to go to Etsy apt. And then in here we have our sources. So let's go into our sources list D. And then we're going to nano the official package repositories list. And these are all of the Debian repositories that are enabled. So you can see here's the Linux Mint packages. So we have the FAE, which is this code name for Linux Mint. We have main, upstream, import, and backport. And then you'll see under the Debian, we have the bookworm main, we have the contrib, we have non-free firmware. Those are enabled. And then we have the bookworm updates. And then again, all of the same other ones. And then these are our security patches, which are going to be patching the Debian security patches. And then we have our backports. So this means that all of the software available. Now, if you are an exclusive free software guy, you probably are going to want to come in here and take out probably the non-frees, maybe the contribs, and then depending on your hardware, you might want to take out the non-free firmware. But this is going to make sure you have all of the available Debian software available. So that is what Debian has done in the latest version, which really solves the problem of needing any of those software managers for your drivers, we should say. So you can kind of see that the system works out really well. You'd have a hard time distinguishing this from the Ubuntu version. It does have everything else there, and really it's becoming so good. As I've said before, I do believe that the next time I need to rebuild my system, I am going to switch away from the Ubuntu version of Linux Mint and go purely with the LMDE version and see how that runs. Who knows? Maybe I might refresh one of my other laptops to do that just to see how that works. Well, guys, with that, hopefully you have enjoyed this video, the brief look at LMDE 6. It is definitely a distribution worth looking at, and it's definitely one that we should consider using for a regular daily driver. This is truly one of my go-tos. I only have a few serious go-tos. This is definitely one of them. So definitely check it out. And how many times can I say definitely at the end of this video? There's another one. This is definitely the end. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.